Hello and welcome to the fourth and final part of the Apostolic United Brethren series with Kristen Decker. I'm your speaker Casey, host of the Cult Vault podcast, and in this final part we will be exploring Kristen's escape and recovery from forced polygamy. Please note that this series contains themes of child abuse and should be listened to with discretion. Now, on to the final part of the AUB series with Kristen Decker, one of my personal heroes. Since your departure from this group, not just from the AUB, but from the independent plural marriage that you were involved in, your activism has taken the shape of many different things. It's taken place in the Sound Choices Coalition. It's taken place in 50 Years in Polygamy. It's taken place in all of the work that you have done with individuals who are also escaping polygamy and plural marriage. So I wondered if you could just talk us through the journey of Sound Choices Coalition, and then we'll move on to some of the other stuff that you've been involved in.
When my husband and I married, we moved to Southern Utah from Salt Lake area and loved our place. And I got down there and I was getting ready to teach school. I hadn't been quite hired yet. And I remember saying to him, I was working on my book, and I remember saying, the saddest thing of all is that nobody's, that I know of anyway at the time, is speaking to the issues of polygamy. And someone needs to talk about this. We need to get that out there. We need to be more outspoken. Tapestry of polygamy had come and gone in Salt Lake, and they were amazing, really, really an amazing group. And they lasted, I wish I could remember how many years, but not very long. And they pretty much felt like they'd been driven away, which I totally understand. And they had tried to do the same thing, bring out all the issues and what was really happening with the abuses in all the groups and different things like that. And they had pretty much gone different directions and ended. And then, so now we're like, I'm going to guess 8 or 9 years later, but meanwhile, there are pro-polygamous families called Principal Voices, and they were really, really, really outspoken about pro-polygamy, how wonderful it is, and it's not coercive, and it's not abusive, and we all have all these awesome families and love everybody, and everything's wonderful, and yeah, we get jealous, but that's part of life, and we're also righteous, and on and on. And they actually had, in fact, I had left and they didn't know that I'd left the group, and they asked me if I wanted to write my testimony about plural marriage to be put in that book, the book, and I declined, of course. Anyway, then they started this coalition called Principal Voices, and they were really outspoken all over everywhere, trying to convince everybody how polygamy should be decriminalized and or legal, and mostly decriminalized. Didn't want it to be legal, and that's another story. And but they're going all over everywhere talking about cultural sensitivity and how we need to help everybody. So somebody suggested that I reached out to another group that had started, that the AG's office had started in Utah, to see about them. And basically what I found is that what they were doing is teaching all the fundamentalists how to do what they were already doing, and just now how to do it well, how to get more food stamps and more money, and more, just do it all legally. What I called it back then is how to break the laws legally. And it was really mind-boggling to me. And I went, well, this is not what we're talking about. These women and men and children can get on welfare, and they can have it, and they always have. And now it's just, let's make it easier for them to stay. So that's how I saw that. And I decided not to participate. So I went, there's got to be something. And there wasn't at the time. So I felt like I was crawling out from under a rock, like, here I am, let's talk about this. And then I begged other women who I felt were stronger and better and smarter than me to lead it, but nobody would. And so I just started motor mouthing like I am, and we started the coalition, and 10 years ago, Sound Choices Coalition. And I did that with Principal Voices, and they changed theirs either right before or right after I did to Principal Choices, because they wanted to make it like polygamy is a big choice rather than coercive, which is what I was saying a lot and speaking to that. And so we in Utah, they were already way ahead of us, and they already had the ears of everybody for a long time. And I felt like we were just mud compared to you. This is religious freedom. They can do whatever they want, and they have this right, and it's still in our scriptures. And it was like fighting the religion as well, if that makes any sense. Trying to say it appropriately too. I don't like to be offensive to anybody, but basically it was just hear no evil, see no evil, shut your eyes, pretend nothing bad's happening. And then we know for a fact that many of the men in the higher positions were being paid off, AGs, different people in legislation by the humongous amount of money from fundamentalists. And anyway, basically, it's just been like a little war going on. I hate that word war, but we have tried in every way we can to bring out issues and problems with polygamy and keep it a crime, and then to really do something. People say, well, they can address the crimes within polygamy and not polygamy. Well, that just hasn't happened. It here and there, hit and miss, barely, and usually only if it becomes embarrassing and somebody's in the way, where Utah didn't do anything and now they have to. They have known, I can't even tell you how many times people have reported over and over and over again, and they do nothing. And their excuse was, well, we don't have any victims. You have to have a victim before you can prosecute. And that, to a certain degree, it's true, because the victims are terrified to talk about it. They can't. They've been threatened. They're going to lose their families. Most of the fear comes from within, not from without. And we have said that a billion times. So I'm going way too deep into this, but basically in all this time, in 10 years, we have done some incredible, wonderful, amazing things. We've helped a lot of people. I wish we could have done more, but there's only so much you can do. And we feel like that we've done pretty much everything we can do. So we're closing the coalition, and it's really hard to do. It's like letting go of a baby or losing a baby. But at the same time, it's also a relief in a sense, because those of us who will continue, and me will continue to help in any way, shape, or form that we possibly can. I'm going to take some victims advocate classes and do that sort of thing. I'm still writing. We'll still post on our Facebook page. We'll keep that. We'll donate any funds we have left to other 501c3s. But it's been an amazing trip. We have met the most wonderful, incredible people on this journey, and I'm sure we'll. And some of them are my family, my kids we adopted. One of the girls we rescued, and that's her story. And you'll see her in big time media. She's got it. In fact, they have she's got, what do they call it? A documentary coming out. And I'm in it. I'm going to be embarrassed to death because I don't like to see myself in things. And I don't rewatch or listen because then I just kind of critique everything. But it's coming up pretty soon. So we'll just keep on going and plugging along and doing whatever we can to help wherever we can.
The work that the Sound Choices Coalition was doing when I first came across yourself and Jane Ridley, who has also been a previous guest on our last episode, spoke to me so much that we did the 12-hour stream to raise funds for the Sound Choices Coalition. And I can see, just talking to you, how much that project means to you, how much being able to help individuals who are victims of plural marriage, how much it means to you to be able to help those individuals. And just publishing your book, putting your life story into it, is something that will continue to help people for years and years to come. You know, it's in the world now, it can't be taken back. It's something that exists, and people will be able to read it for all of time now, you know. So that's an incredible thing. And 10 years is a lot of time to be in the world helping people proactively. And I tuned into your International Cultic Studies Association panel that you did, that you titled after the Craig Elton Jones book,
Craig Jones.
A Cruel Arithmetic Inside the Case Against Polygamy. So I watched your panel, and this was after we'd spoken, and I was absolutely blown away to even realize that polygamy is the term that we use universally because that is a word that most people know. But actually, a man with plural wives is a polygynist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a woman with many husbands is a polyandrist. So I didn't know that until I tuned into your panel. So even the Sound Choices Coalition, 50 Years in Polygamy, which is published and available for everybody to read right now, and will be the featured memoir for November's monthly memoir giveaway, and things like running panels for the International Cultic Studies Association. It's activism in its purest form, educating people, allowing them access to things on the internet that they will be able to go back on, and to educate themselves further on the topic of, as you said in our previous interview, plural marriage, because it's a lot more convoluted than just saying polygamy. And even though polygamy is a term that people understand, it's really looking at the coercive nature of these plural marriages and understanding that a lot of the time it's not polyamory, it's not consensual, it's actually spiritual abuse, it's sexual abuse, it's grooming of children from a young age, it's sending off of lost boys to be labor trafficked into the country and the rest of the world to bring back money to leadership, because there's no need for the boys, because there's already plenty of older men who are only in need of younger girls. And all of these things that kind of become collateral damage of trying to hold the purest sense of the scripture and carry out that belief system in the way that people really truly believe they should be carrying it out, like your brother, for example. So thank you so much, Kristen, for just allowing yourself to be vulnerable, talking about really difficult personal things that have happened in your life, but using them to help others escape similar situations. Because as we spoke about before we hit record, this is very much in existence today, and there are thousands of people that are living right now in these polygamist environments that are being coerced, that are being abused, that probably do contemplate suicide, that perhaps do have eating disorders and are in need of things like Overeaters Anonymous. It's really heartbreaking to think about, but it's not something that used to happen years ago. It's happening right now.
Thanks, Casey, for really elaborating on that. I so appreciate that. Everything you just said, bringing up those topics about the cruel arithmetic. It's awesome book. If anybody can get it's out of print, but if you can find one, it's way. I read it 3 times. I could read it again. It's so informative. It's beautiful. And I don't even know how to thank you enough, Casey, for what you're doing, bringing this up about all the cults that are happening everywhere. The more I learn and the more I have in all these years, it's just devastating. And there's so many victims everywhere. We are moving. The coalition was moving into opening more and more up to that as well. We just haven't had the help that we need. And I think it's where we're at. Our location makes it real difficult to have that support and that help. It's been some absolutely wonderful years, and we have really done some amazing things and met some incredible people like you. It's just been absolutely awesome. I love listening to your things. Thank you again for bringing all this up to everyone. And I can't wait to hear them all. I love listening while I'm working.
There's one last question I had before I end our conversation today, and that was just to ask you in relation to your comment earlier about the state of Utah not doing croc to help any of these situations, even if the illegalities are brought to their attention. Do you believe that Utah is a theocratic state?
Oh, absolutely. Not last year, the year before, when they decided to keep polygamy or make it just a slap on the hand, a misdemeanor, we had somebody on the inside, so this isn't just hearsay, it's really true, that there were, I believe his facts were like 95%. I wish so much I was right on this, but 95% of the senators and legislators or LDS, it was very, 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 very obvious if we had recorded everything. But if what you can see, you can go back and watch. It's obvious that all of them had predetermined they were going to vote the way they did before they listened to anybody who came in to talk about it or to testify about it, about the harms. The many of us that showed up at the session, the Senate, and to talk about that, we went up to talk to Deidre Henderson, who sponsored that bill, and it was pathetic. I wish so much I'd have recorded that, but there was no talking. It was like, this is the way it is, and this is what I've done, and I've already interviewed all these people, and I've talked to, and da 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 da, and this is the way it is. And it was like, okay, done deal. We have no say. It's even if we show up, which we did, we have no say. It was already decided. They had so many of them already listed as sponsors of that bill and signed into it already that it was pretty obviously a done deal. And I can't help but feel like myself, and I'm just guessing, but I could get they killed or thrown rocks at, I don't know, that it has to do with, once again, I said there's payoffs for doing that. It's an LDS doctrine, plural marriages. It's still in their books. And some of us feel that some of the hierarchy people might be called to live plural marriage because it's in their prophecies. Their prophecies said in the last days, which they claim it is always right now, that plural marriage will be reinstated into the LDS church. And so, and that's not, I'm just paraphrasing that, but it's been there for a long time, and my families and everybody else believe that. So we think that there's a possibility that some of the hierarchy leadership might have other plural wives. And in fact, if I might get in trouble, so I got to be careful how I say this. I'm just going to say it as a belief system, but we saw things that pretty much look that way, that there's some plural families that are covered up that are LDS. And yeah, I don't have any proof, but it looks like proof. How do you say that carefully? Yeah.
I think from what we see from the outside in terms of how little action is taken against such egregious claims in terms of child brides and sexual abuse and police officers just kind of sweeping things under the rug and just some of the small things that were highlighted in the Netflix documentary, that's how it looks to people outside of that state as well, that absolutely is the case, that the whole thing runs far too deep for us to penetrate. And I know that was something that you always felt you were struggling with or colliding with when you were doing all of the hard work around the Sound Choices Coalition, and no doubt something that you will continue to lock heads with until you decide that it's time to stop doing this work, which I feel like is not anytime soon.
Yes, I think I'll always be involved in one way or another. But one thing I think that's good about closing is that it gives us more of a right or freedom to be individuals as well. there's certain things we might not say or dare say or want to do as part of the coalition, because we have the parameters that we, and guidelines, okay, we have to be careful what we say here and we can't say that. And as this grandma who feels quite rebellious in my older age, and it's like, aha, now I'll say whatever I want. And so that's really a cool feeling too. Yeah.
I love it. I think you're beautiful. I think you're empowering, and I think you're an inspiration, Kristen. Thank you so much for everything that you do and everything you've done and everything you will continue to do for all these years to come. I really, really hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, Kristen.
Thanks, Casey. You're back at you too. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That is the end of the Apostolic United Brethren series with Kristen Decker. To find a link to Kristen's book, 50 Years in Polygamy, please follow the links in the episode description. And to get early access to ad-free full-length episodes, please visit patreon.com/thecultvault. And you can get in touch with me personally at cultvaultpodcast@gmail.com or follow me on Twitter and Instagram at cultvaultpod. I'm your speaker, Casey, host of the Cult Vault podcast.